Hey everyone, welcome to our episode today. Have you ever heard somebody tell you, just get over it, and you've been feeling this horrible emotion within you, and somebody just comes along and just completely dismisses it? Yeah. Well, today, this is what we're here to talk about. Emotions, how to work through them, how to be best supported when you're going through them, and some of the negative aspects of why holding on to emotion is not good for you. And when you begin to express it in a positive way, you begin to align with your goals. Hi, I'm Jacqueline Francis, and this is my amazing co-host, Diana Lizarazo, and we're going to share with you some amazing tips on this really incredible topic that I feel like isn't spoken about enough. What are your thoughts, Diana?
100%. I think like that we're it's like we're supposed to not have emotions and emotions are a bad thing and
Right?
that we should just be like bottling them down. And then what happens though? You like bottle them down, what happens? Sooner or later you're gonna explode in some way.
A
So
hundred
yeah,
percent.
so it's like we want to understand that emotions are good, but how can we effectively understand them, use them, and take advantage of our emotions in a positive way so that we can further, let's say, our goals or whatever we're trying to do and understand that it is okay as men and women. Because I think on both sides, we always get persecuted when women being so emotional. Oh, women are so
Yeah.
emotional, da da da. Like men are so angry. Like, what's wrong with them? Like but it's like, okay, maybe it's because been told to suppress them, and then we're seeing the explosions happen. Where if we learn from the beginning, just to understand them, what is happening with us, why is this happening, that you can use them because they're there to tell you something. These emotions
Yeah.
are there to tell you something, and you should be paying attention to what does this mean? Why am I having this emotion? And I don't think a lot of us do that. What do you think?
No. It is a societal norm, especially for men, not to feel their emotions. So there are so many men walking around emotionally unavailable because from when they were little, they were taught boys don't cry. Stop crying. Get over it. Don't you cry. You're going to get beat if you cry. Right? So all of these things. So what happens if you hear that over and over and over again, especially from 0 to 7? As a little child, you're going to accept that as truth. You're going to make a connection in your brain that says, if I cry, I'm going to get in trouble. If I cry, I'm going in timeout. And then you learn over time to start suppressing, to
Yeah,
start holding it in and not feeling what you actually need to feel because it actually heals you,
100%.
right?
Yeah.
What are emotions? I mean, first of all, they're energy in motion. Okay, if you've ever heard that term, because the first time I heard, I was like, ooh, energy in motion,
Mhm.
right? Our emotions are telling us the type of feeling that we have in our body. Are we
Right.
feeling good? Are we feeling sad? Are we feeling depressed? Because they're moving constantly. And how we feel eventually becomes in alignment to what we experience, to what we call into our lives, right? So they're almost like an internal GPS as well.
Yes, I love that. And even I think another to add on to that definition, something that I really like, if people want to even just deep dive more into their emotions, is I love that they say, emotions are a record of the past.
Right,
Like when you're kids, like that you'll associate certain emotions to certain things that have happened. And if you
right.
start noticing all those different activities as you go on in your life, will bring, for example, if someone hits you when you're a kid, that brings anger or crying, right? And then you're gonna see similar things happening where you're gonna remember that and like, oh, associated. Okay, this is
Yeah,
the category of I should feel anger, I should feel sadness because it's very similar to how what happened when I was a kid.
exactly. And emotions also drive what actions we take.
Mhm.
So going back to that example, if somebody hit you when you were a kid, you're automatically going to want to like throw something at them, spit in their face, whatever reaction you're going to do. Now, as an adult, you may not hit or throw, but you will scream. You will do something almost like a like you'd want to get revenge back. So that anger is now driving you to take an action that isn't good for you. That can get you in trouble, that can cause the emotion to expand further within your body, where let's say if it's with a partner, you start throwing something at them, or you walk out the door, you're slamming things. And the opposite of that, if you're feeling really good about something, let's say, for example, you get up and you feel amazing, your momentum is going to be, let's go to the gym. I'm going to get this thing done. And you're so excited about it, right? Because logic doesn't get you out of bed at 5 o'clock in the morning. Okay, it doesn't make you show up on days that you doubt yourself. Emotion does.
Yeah. Actually, a question for the viewers. I'm curious because I feel like I noticed there's usually when it comes to emotions, you go in two directions when you're a kid. I feel like as a kid, either, and then obviously it continues as you're an adult. You're either like that, you either something happens and you're being angry about it, like that. Let's say you're throwing things. I mean, but as adults, you get into fights verbally
Yeah.
or physically, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Road rage.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Or so you're either one that you're confronted and you're all in it and you're just like, oh yeah, you want to fight? I'm in there too. But then there's the other ones where you feel anger and you disappear and you leave because you don't want to be in that situation. And I think
Avoidance.
avoidance, yeah. And I think you go in either direction. And I think either way, in extremes, it's not good. Like, yes, for example, if you're angry, maybe taking a step back is important. But if you just disappear from the whole situation and you don't ever do anything, what are the opportunities that you're missing because you had no control over your emotions? Same thing.
Right.
If you are in it fighting and like the person doesn't even know how to handle you because you're just like an irrational, angry person, again, what are the opportunities that you're missing because you don't know how to control these emotions that you have?
So you're constantly reacting
Mhm.
versus responding.
Mhm.
So reacting, you're doing out of fight or flight, right? You get super stressed, you think this thing is coming at you, so your natural response is to, fight back, right? In the best way that you know how. A
Yeah,
person that is in tune with their emotions, that are more self-aware, they respond. They take a minute. They don't allow that surge of energy to hit them and jolt them out of like their everyday being, right? They recognize what's happening, give themselves a moment. And we'll go into this later, right? But
Mhm.
we've been taught that emotions are our enemy. And
Yeah,
even as women, that stereotype that you mentioned earlier, women are so emotional. But then there are women that don't want to be associated with that stereotype. So then they start to suppress their emotion.
yeah.
Okay. Because they had something in their childhood tell them that, hey, you shouldn't be crying. Or they watched a brother, like whatever, however that scenario played out, and they started to suppress. And then what happens? They're walking through life not knowing how to love a partner, not knowing how to love themselves. And it's a whole whirlwind of this like experience of life not feeling so great because you are emotionally unavailable.
100%. Yeah. Or even society. Sometimes you see in society like being seen as like, oh, women are weak. I think that's my problem. Like I
Right.
don't know if in my parents so much. I'm sure there's a little bit, but I feel like more is just like you always hear like women can't do this, women can't do that, women are so weak. And I'm like, oh yeah.
Let me prove you wrong. So then,
Yeah.
bringing it back to masculine, feminine energy, then a lot of women tend to move more in their masculine energy, always wanting to do, always wanting to compete, always wanting to be the best at everything, and not knowing how to take the rest, not knowing how to work out of alignment, not knowing boundaries for themselves because they're just there to prove that, hey, I'm XYZ.
Mm. And that's why we're seeing such a disbalance in society right now, right? Because it's like women are becoming so masculine, and then
Yeah,
what happens to your man? They start becoming more of the feminine side. Because if you have two masculines, who's going to be the stronger one, especially in the households? Because generally, the woman in the household is the one that kind of controls the stuff in the house. And if
right.
she's very masculine, all of a sudden you're bringing your man down into the feminine, right? And then it's just like then it's just like both sides are just so confused.
And some of the dynamic is that if you as a woman are in your masculine a lot, you will tend to attract a man that's more in their feminine.
Yeah.
And vice versa, right? Women who are more feminine that are like, oh, I just want to be saved, which is a whole other thing. They
Hmm.
will attract a man that's totally masculine, that's just completely in their masculine. Do, 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 go, 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 go. And we don't attract people out of the blue. We attract them based on how we feel, based on what we've experienced, because everyone that we meet in our lives are mirrors. And when we start to understand that, we start to recognize where within us we need to start to heal.
Hmm.
So emotions are not the enemy. They're powerful, powerful tools to help us navigate where we're meant to be, where we're supposed to go in this world, and the type of person we're meant to become.
100%. To bring us the awareness to be like, for example, when you're asking yourself, like, why am I in this situation?
Yeah,
It really, you will, if you start really paying attention to yourself and you pay attention to your emotions, you start really seeing what's happening to you and why it's happening to you. So I feel like this is one of the amazing things of emotions is that it's like it really starts telling you, for example, like where your belief systems lie. It
yeah,
really starts telling you just so many things about yourself that is so important. And the only really I would say negative side in the emotion is when um, you're putting that negative energy onto others. It's like, okay, it's great. Like, okay, this, for example, situation or this specific way they're saying a specific word that the person's saying is making me angry. Okay, good to acknowledge it. But then if you're out projecting it out because you're
yeah,
like, I'm hurt, can't believe you did that to me in your head.
yeah,
Obviously, you're like, can't believe you did that. So I'm going to say, but, and then I'm going to lash out at you
right,
because now I'm pissed because you hurt me
right,
when that person's intention was not to hurt you and
yeah,
they're just saying something but you happens to trigger something in you, a specific word or specific situation where you all of a sudden
exactly.
feel attacked and now you're attacking that person and what happens, that person now is just like, oh my god, what happened, why am I being attacked? And then they're, who wants to be attacked, right? And then they're like start lashing out and then now you're just like having a battle
Yeah,
that of a misunderstanding, to be honest. I feel like when it's anger and it continues, like when you feel anger and then now you're having a fight, verbally, physically, whatever, that's really, to be honest, I feel like, at least to me, what I've learned is once it gets to a fight of whatever kind, it's a misunderstanding. Someone misunderstood someone, or someone took it the wrong way, like that. Like
yes,
maybe I have a childhood trigger of some specific word you told me, and that word has no trigger meaning at you for any sense, and you get triggered in a second, and then you're lashing out, and your mind is having a different narrative than the other
yeah,
person is having. And that really helped me a lot to actually realize, like, oof, I was like, anger is really just a misunderstanding,
of
miscommunication.
course. And has nothing to do most times with the other person. It has everything to do with you,
Yeah.
right? When you suppress, ignore, or live from emotions, that's when they start to self-sabotage. That's
Mhm.
when you start to self-sabotage. You sabotage your life, your energy, and your goals,
Mhm.
right? So you talked about it messes with your perception. It distorts it, right? So when you're stuck in fear, anger, guilt, worry, shame, just like you had said, your mind zooms in on that threat, on that problem. How dare you attack me? How dare you da 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 da? And you go down this spiral wanting to attack the person that made you feel that way,
Mhm.
right? But it never really was the person. It's just what you've been holding on to for so long and never processed it. And this is what happens when we don't process our emotions, right? You can't see opportunities because your mind filters them out. Your nervous system is in survival mode. So all you want to do is protect yourself. Tunnel vision keeps you looping the same patterns instead of moving forward. So think about with a partner. Why are you constantly having these same arguments? And then one person's leaving, the other person's slamming the door, and you're not talking for the rest of the night. You shove it under the carpet. Things are fine for a couple weeks, and the same thing cycles repeatedly over and over again.
And the longer it lasts, the worse it gets because then you really can't talk about a specific issue because it's like in a second you get triggered because it's been years of the same
Yeah.
fight. And it's just like that word just automatically instigates like anger or whatever, a negative emotion. And then you
Yeah.
like, now how do you manage something like that? And it's like not letting it get to, and that's, I think that's probably what with our last episode was on attitude. That's where the
Yes.
attitude comes in. It's an ingrained now emotion that is just like that one word comes in. You've had that fight many times and it's going to continue. And
Right.
it's like set in place. And it's
Right.
like now it's the strength of who is strong enough to like not let it bother them. So at least somehow you can push through to resolve some that type of issue.
And
Because
it's
it is
most of
it
the
is
time women because we can actually take a step back and allow the emotion to move through us
yeah,
opposed to just like holding on to it and fighting from it, which we do also, don't get me wrong. But when you have two people that are unaware of how to deal with their emotions, this is what happens. I've been there with
yeah.
my partner where we've screamed, throw things at each other, walked out the door, and just had like such a chaotic way of expressing the emotion, which was completely unhealthy,
Mhm,
right? Until one person, me, hi, hello,
mhm.
started to recognize this is not the way I should be dealing with myself and with him because it's not healthy.
Yeah. And I
It's not
think
healthy at
the
all.
reason why women do is because we're allowed to have emotions as kids, you know,
Right.
even though we're taught to be emotional, but
Yeah.
at the same time, we're still like it's accepted. Like, okay, women are emotional, you know, like that, like deal with them, right? But at the same time, I think is like you said, so we think about things more because you're just like, okay, why did this go out of hand? Or why did this happen? Whereas like with men, they're told like you can't have emotions, you can't have emotions, so they don't even understand what is going on. They're just like angry and don't,
Right.
and because you're supposed to like not have emotions, they're like, well, I'm just gonna put it away, like I shouldn't even
Right.
think about it because that's a bad thing, like I shouldn't have had that emotion, instead of being like, oh, I had this emotion, why, what caused it, what happened?
Right.
Whereas like we were, at least as women, you were, it's kind of like it's allowed, you know, it's like, okay, so we think things through because it's been
Right.
okay for us to do it.
We
But for
are more the emotional,
yeah,
being than our male counterparts, right?
and
That
that
is the
because at least
balance.
we're, yeah, at least we're more emotional, so we kind of like know how to self-regulate more or understand ourselves more. But then same thing, because I think that someone was saying, so I was thought really interesting that actually like men don't understand the difference between like feelings and emotions, like they don't
Right.
know actually how to identify the differences between them, so it's just like, so it's, you know, for them it's actually so much harder, so if they're not as kids being told to
Right.
think about their emotions, they won't, you know. And whereas like for us, like I don't know, that comes innate in us to be like, oh, okay, why did this happen? Why did I do this? Why, you know, why?
Exactly. Or you'll have your mother sit with you and be, and try to ask you those questions. I think for little boys too, like, as certain moms will sit and be like, why did you get so angry when this happened? But again, depending on the dynamic of the home,
Yeah.
so many
So many,
parts
yeah.
can kind of play into that. Um, there could be a father too that can be like, hey, why did you feel this way? Why did you throw that thing? Opposed to another pair, like another home where the father is just screaming at the kid for whatever they were doing and not actually addressing what the underlying feeling was of why that action took place in the first place,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, because if you're not
Another
present,
thing,
it's so hard.
yeah.
Or are you gonna say another thing?
I was just gonna say nothing about emotions, like they drain your energy, right? Feeling sad, feeling depressed, it consumes so much where you don't, physically you don't feel good. Who
Hmm.
wants to be walking around like that all the time? And then going back to what you also said, emotions are records of the past because we keep then replaying painful stories in
Yeah.
our minds that then anchor us to the past.
Mhm. Yeah, like depression is actually anchoring, you know, like anxiety is actually thoughts of the future. So when
Yeah,
all you're doing is dwelling in the future,
right.
being
which
like,
hasn't even
oh,
happened yet.
yeah, exactly. Oh my God, what about this? Oh my God, what about that? Oh my God, that. And you're putting yourself in this anxiety mode. And then same thing, depression is like about the past. So, oh my God, I suck at this. I'm so bad at that. I can't believe I did this in my life.
Okay,
Oh,
so
da, da, da.
to my next point then, the negative emotions that we carry, when we stay in it, it becomes our identity, becomes how we operate, right? Oh, I'm just an anxious person. How many people have you met that says that? Oh, I just want to let you know I'm like really, anxious. Oh,
Yeah,
I just want to let you know I always get disappointed. And they identify
yeah,
with that. So now they are living from what they identify with. This is self-image, right?
yeah, yeah. And the thing is they don't real or I don't know if they it's like they don't realize the negative impacts of being negative.
Yeah. Well, yeah, absolutely.
Right?
People
They're just like,
don't
this is
realize
who I
it.
am and I've identified, this is my persona, and that's it. I'm like, no.
Also, they don't realize that they can actually change it. Like once you stop telling yourself that same story and you start telling yourself a new one, you can literally shift into becoming a new person. And this is epigenetics. This is, everything in this new modern way of understanding that we're not just meant to stay the same,
100%. And
right?
actually,
That
since
we
we're
can
getting,
evolve and change.
yes, yes. And since we're getting to that, what tips do you have for the viewers to help them be able to handle their emotions in a positive way?
One thing I would say is that start to recognize when you get angry. Start to recognize when you start to feel guilt. Is it after somebody says something? Is it after something that you do? Just start to become aware of it
And
in
what
your
it is.
mind.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Because
Of,
I actually
oh,
had a
I
situation.
get angry when my partner says this to me, when they talk about my weight, when somebody criticizes me about what I wear. Like, just start to pay attention.
Yeah. Because it really helps you actually calm down a lot when you know what it is. Because I had a situation where it was like that. Someone belittled me. And in the moment, I did not know. I just know that I went to like from 0 to 100. Like when people like belittle me or put me down, that's a thing like I just have zero tolerance for. And I just went like, I mean, like I didn't go crazy angry, but my thermostat was just like next level. And you're
Red, red, code red.
and you're trying not to show how angry you are, like I was like trying to keep calm. But the funny thing, it was in a meeting, so I had recorded it and I had to anyways
Ooh.
watch it because I had to set like some put some stuff together anyways. And I was so curious. I was like, where was that trigger? Where did it happen? What exactly was it? And I found out exactly that, like, because I was at that moment, I didn't know what it was. I was just like, I just felt anger, and I was just like, oh,
Right.
and then I go and see, and I was like, oh, she was belittling me. I was like, that's what
Ah.
happened. But
Everyone needs a record button on in their life. A
I
replay button.
you know why? Because as I'm also watching it, I saw characteristics in this person where I was all like, oh, she's dealt with, like, all of a sudden I just could see, just because she had similar scenarios actually to my ex,
Mm.
that he had in like things that would happen like that. Like, I feel like in construction, people belittle each other a lot. It's a
Right.
very like abusive,
They
I
put
don't
each
know,
other
it's a very
down. Yeah, they
abusive
make fun of
environment, I
them.
feel
Yeah.
like. Yeah. So I all of a sudden I saw all those things and I was just like, oh, she's just a woman in that kind of environment, and it like clearly she took it like in a next level, right?
Yeah.
And it was just, but it was something that all of a sudden I saw that and all of a sudden I had compassion for her. And
Wow.
I
Oh,
was
I
like,
loved how you transmuted that from
yeah.
anger to compassion.
But I feel like that's one of the benefits of understanding
Yes.
why things happen to you, because especially if you see it, and if you have that opportunity to be honest, I feel like I wish I could record my whole life because then it could find those trigger points, right, that happen.
We'd
Because it's
all be better people, okay, if we could go
and
back and do
and calmer.
that.
You feel calmer, because like
Yes.
that, as afterwards we'd have conversations and I was just like, oh, she's doing it because of this or that. Like all of a sudden I understood her a lot better too. She's saying this because I'm like, because I just saw so many similar characteristics with
Mm.
my ex that like he would talk about and things that would happen in his field. And so it
Right.
was just so easy for me, like, oh, that's why she's doing that. That's why she's saying that. And obviously, she ever did try to belittle me. Now, at that point, I would stop it because I understood it. It never
Hmm.
happened again, thankfully. Um, but it was something that at least I knew what it was and I could address it in a more calmer way because now I knew what it was.
Yeah, because you became more self-aware. We cannot change anything that we're unaware of. So there's so many people that just don't think that they need to change, that are constantly like it's a you problem. But
Mm-hmm.
when you turn that mirror on yourself and you're like, "Oh, wait a second, it is actually me."
Yeah, yeah,
Everything starts to change.
yeah,
So a tip, okay? You pause before you react. And I know that can be difficult and it comes with practice.
100%.
Okay?
And sometimes
Comes
two
with
breaths
practice.
are needed. I feel like I need two or three. I'm
Right?
like, one breath
Exactly.
is better for me.
When you start to feel that anger building up, take a deep breath. Maybe you need to literally just leave the room. Maybe you need to you need to do something to sort of like distract yourself from allowing it to like explode out of you almost, right?
Mhm.
A tiny pause, a breath in, that feeling between the reaction gives you peace. It gives you a second to respond from a place of awareness instead of from the wound that you're carrying.
Yeah,
Have you ever heard the power is in the pause?
yes, the power is in the
The
pause.
power is in pause, right?
Although I feel like
So,
make sure it's a long enough pause. I don't know.
hey, if it
Sometimes
needs to be a long pause,
yeah.
let it be a long pause, right? So for example, this is a good one. Instead of just like snapping back in anger, which is our natural reaction to do if we haven't trained ourselves to do something differently, we just take a deep breath, you step away for a minute, and then come back with clarity, right? Whether it's with a friend, a family member, instead of just like, spewing out these like verbal diarrhea on the
Yeah.
person, right? You're the only person that you are in charge of. And when you start to take accountability for how you move through life, who you're being, everything starts to change because the anger no longer controls you. You are in control of it,
Mhm.
right? Another thing is naming the emotion. Call it out. I feel frustrated. I feel because nobody does that. You just start like screaming. You're not
Mhm.
like, oh, I'm so angry right now. Because the minute
Yeah.
you identify it, you're like, oh, wait a second, I'm angry, I'm disappointed, I'm fearful.
Yeah. And
Naming
for
it,
some reason, it makes you calm down, actually.
yes,
I don't know why. I find that interesting.
it kind of like takes it out of the shadow and it puts you back in control
I guess
because you're
so.
giving it a label. You're like, hey, I see you. I
And then it
spotted
runs away. It's
you.
like, oh shit, I got
Yeah. The vision in my head is like these like robbers going to a house and then all of a sudden like the spotlight comes on them and they're like, oh my gosh, freeze, right?
run.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Choose your outlet intentionally. So don't bottle it up, move it. Maybe you need to go for a run. Maybe you need to lie down and take a nap. Maybe you need to journal out what you are feeling. And it may not happen in that moment, but this is what you can come back to,
Mhm.
right? Where you do the pause, you walk away, go for a run, go for a swim, like whatever you need to do to
Yeah.
just calm the body. Even sitting there and being like, I'm safe, I'm okay, I'm
Question
okay.
for you.
Yeah,
I feel that I think this happens to me, and that's why I'm asking. Because I rather resolve in the moment, but obviously that's not always going to happen because
yeah.
maybe just like the argument's way too irrational and we need to separate. I actually find, how do you bring the conversation back though? I've always been the type of person like, oh, it's like I need time apart, but I actually never go back. And if anything, I'm prepared for the next fight of anything. But I actually
Yeah.
never, I really struggle at like, when is the good time? Like, have I given them enough time to calm down, you know, or should we talk about it, or has it been, I'm like, it's resolved for me because I thought about it, but is it resolved for the other person? Like, do we need to talk about it? And then I just feel like I never talk about it. But for example, I'll be prepared for the next argument. If like an argument comes up, I feel like, okay, I'm like, this is how I'm going to try to behave. Obviously not always it goes as planned, but I feel like I
Yeah.
come with like an action plan of like, okay, this is how this person is, and this is how I'm going to try to behave so that we can make it a better experience.
So you
Like
can do
that's
that. This is the thing. When you can understand where you're coming from. And we don't often know fully how that other person is feeling. Unless it's like a partner where we're with them all the time, we can kind of get a sense of like who they are, what they've been through. In that case, you can be like, honestly, I'm not done with this. I need a minute. We need to come back to this. Because if you can come back to it clearly, level-headed, you'll actually be able to listen and hear why the person got upset. And same with them listening to you. Because now, what's the saying? You can't see your reflection in a boiling pot of water.
Mhm.
So just like you can't hear anything when you're fuming with anger,
Yeah.
when the water is calm, you see your reflection. So many things can get processed better if you're both willing to come back to that same thing and say, you know what, we are committed to resolving this. So, number one, we have a better relationship. Number two, we don't bring this up again. Number three, we can heal together. When it comes to friends and parents, sometimes it can get a little tricky, especially dealing with parents who
Yeah.
don't know how to express emotion at all, right? And that's when you have to just do your own healing,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, that's funny you say that actually. Yeah, because I feel like with parents, I feel like that is probably more of where I'm just like, okay, how can I just behave in a better way to make it a better situation?
Exactly. And even when it comes to parents, like, or really with anybody, shifting from awareness to blame. So a lot of times, and I've caught myself saying this, you made me angry. You did this. Always you. So then, like, I'm like, my husband has said that to me, like, oh, you did this, you did it, and then you feel very violated. You're like, oh my God, I'm such a horrible person. Like all these things, or all of these negative emotions build up, opposed to shifting into language that's like, it hurt when this happened.
Mhm.
And you remove the person out of it and just talk about the action.
Mhm.
So your own emotion, like it when you're talking about your own emotion, you're owning it,
Mhm.
opposed to shifting the blame onto the person that made you feel that way. No
Mhm.
one makes you feel anything,
Yes. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
We are
100%.
the ones that
Assigned
create that
emotion we're going
feeling.
to place on it because of specific words that were said. And then it's been like when that attitude's been set in place, usually that person knows which button to push to piss you off even more. So it's like, oh, say this word and I'm going to trigger them.
Yeah.
Like, what other buttons can I press? This person's pissing me off. Let me press a couple more.
And then sometimes you get like a joy out of like wanting to see how much more you can piss them off. Like it's not good, but like
It's not, but it's so, but that's the attitude, right? Like that's
yeah.
where it's like it's been so ingrained where you're in the middle of a fight and you're just like, oh yeah, okay, let me press some buttons I know that are
Yeah.
gonna
And
trigger.
then what happens? You're both level-headed. You come back and you're like, why did you say that to me? And then they're like, oh, I just wanted to make you more angry. I
Yeah,
didn't really mean it. But like, why are we doing this to each other?
yeah, exactly.
Right? So, like, I think alchemizing it is very powerful as well. So, asking yourself maybe after or with the person, like, what was this emotion trying to teach me? Why did I get so angry? How can I use this to better, me moving forward next time I feel angry? Because anger can fuel action, sadness can open you up to compassion,
Mhm.
right? And fear can awaken courage. We just have to be willing to look at what it is face value and identify it and say, I'm willing to work through this, right?
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, I love that. Any other tips?
Gratitude,
Gratitude. Yeah,
gratitude,
yeah. I actually
right?
in my I wonder if I have a list. I was literally actually I'm gonna see if I could quickly find it, but it was one of the things was like I felt like breathe. And I was like, maybe three times for me, you know?
Yeah.
And then one of them was just like putting myself in a more happier state, which I was thinking, I was actually going to do a mantra. I think that's what it was like a mantra to kind of put me up back into space. I don't know where it is. Um, before speaking, just because I was like, oh, like, how do you get, because I was thinking, how do you get yourself out of anger?
Yeah.
You're like, especially looking at the person you have that, let's say something has triggered you, be it they've screaming at you or they've triggered you, whichever way, but you're angry and trying to get yourself out of that in the moment. And that was the only thing that I could come up with was like gratitude or like that, like something affirmative, like something to just kind of put you in a happier mood so
Yes, exactly.
so that you can Now, hopefully, the purpose is obviously to have a calmer voice and not talk with all the
Exactly.
tone to piss people.
Yes, exactly, exactly. Like you can't be holding two emotions at the same time. You can't be angry and happy at the exact same moment,
Mhm.
right? So when you feel the anger rising, or you work through what it is, it's like, can I be grateful for something in this moment?
Mhm.
What, maybe you're pausing and you're like, fine, like you have to know what works for you. So it is like trial and error, right? Maybe it's pausing, walking away, coming back to it. Maybe it's thinking of something that makes you feel grateful in that moment. So it shifts out of the anger. But once you have kind of worked through this, I think holding gratitude for yourself, thanking yourself, because people do not do this. Okay. Including myself. And I think I'm going to take my own advice on this. Every night, thank yourself. Thank yourself for the awareness that you had for the day, for working through what you needed to,
Mhm.
whatever you experienced that day. Thank your body for communicating it to you. There's different ways for us to show gratitude to ourselves,
Yeah.
okay? Which just amplifies that feeling and helps us to move forward and look forward to the future.
Mhm. And I would say one more tip, which sometimes I feel like I like, is sometimes having that conversation actually in text message or messenger really helps. Because having that gives the pause, actually, because it's like you
Yeah,
don't need to respond immediately. You can give it like 5 minutes
you can.
or even an hour or something, which is kind of nice because it is when you're in front of someone, sometimes, especially with difficult conversations, especially if you're really, really triggered and so many years of the same problem. It's just like, why not just sometimes maybe text messages also matter better because you can receive it, read it a couple times, relax yourself, clear your mind, and then respond. Try to see through the message instead of like what you're seeing, the illusions that you're giving yourself and thinking that what that message means.
Says the person coming from a healed place. Okay. My only thing with text messages is that some people can misread the tone, the
Mhm.
way something is projected. Because in your mind, you're like, oh, I'm just saying it like this. You're like, oh, I feel so good about this. I'm just gonna say it. But then that person can perceive it the wrong way,
Yeah. So I
right?
think it is. That's why it's like I think you do
Got to
need
be
to know the
mindful of,
person
yeah,
and know
yes,
if they'll get it. And sometimes even transitioning between the two. Because you can tell
yes,
when a person just
yes.
doesn't get it. I've actually had situations where they don't get it. I'm like on
Me
the phone.
too.
I'm just like, "Oh, hold on,
Me
before we get
too.
into a fight."
Yeah, where now I'm explaining myself, oh, I hope you didn't take it the wrong way. That's not what I meant. And having to like or I felt a certain way. And then someone's calling me and being like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean for you to take it that way. So it can be an interesting thing when you're going over text. So you do need to be a little
Yeah.
bit mindful and cautious of who it is that you're having this conversation with.
Yeah, that's completely true. Oh my God,
So
Jacqueline, thank you so much. I feel like we
thank
always
you.
have such great conversations. There's such great tips. And we'll see everyone in the next episode. Jacqueline, thank you.
Thank you so much. I hope everyone's learned so much on how to control and shift their emotions. Bye
100%.
for now.
Bye, everyone.